We're going to get started. Thank you for being here, everybody. We're going to talk about scheduling platforms, tools for scheduling, because we've been talking a lot about creating this content. And I know that you would like some help on how to do that. I'm bringing on 3 people who do that all the time because I do not do that all the time. We know that I use pen and paper, like my little list of questions here. So we are going to go around across my screen. I have Angela, then Leah, then Dave. So we're going to go in that order. And they're just going to they're going to introduce themselves, talk about their store a little bit, like what type of store it is, what scheduling platform or apps they use, and how long they've been using that. So if you want to start, Angela, go ahead.
Okay. I'm actually a little schedule adjacent, so I might not be the best person to go first because mine is more about using ManyChat to take special orders. So maybe I could go last.
Okay. All right. Leah, are you okay going first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
My name is Leah Grover, and I'm the marketing and events manager for Bard's Alley Bookshop in Vienna, Virginia. We are a new independent bookstore. We've been open for almost 4 years now. I've actually been the manager for 6 months, but I've been doing social media for almost 3 years. Yeah. And we use Hootsuite, which I kind of inherited from the first marketing manager we had. But it worked out because I'm also working for a nonprofit doing social media, and they use Hootsuite as well. So it all works out.
Excellent. Okay, Dave.
So I'm Dave Lucy. My wife and I own Page 158 Books in Wake Forest, North Carolina, and I see one of my people on there, Kelly. Hi, Kelly. We're a new bookstore. We do have a nonprofit arm, which actually just reminded me I do need to get the nonprofit set up with a Loomly account. We use a program called Loomly. We've been using it for probably 3 years now. We were using Hootsuite, and I'm trying to remember what frustrated me about Hootsuite and made me look for an alternative that caused me to find Loomly. But I think another bookseller at probably a Winter Institute recommended Loomly, and we checked it out, and I really loved it. In particular, I love the calendar view that it shows, and I can show you that a little bit later on.
Awesome. Okay, and Angela, let's hear your adjacent stuff.
Okay. I'm Angela Trigg. I'm the owner of the Haunted Bookshop in Mobile, Alabama, which is a new and used bookstore, about 1,900 square feet. And we specialize in genre fiction, and we don't actually use scheduling apps for our social media, but I do use ManyChat, which is a bot that interacts with our customers when we're not online, and it will take, if it detects certain keywords, it'll then shoot them some canned responses and even interact with them. So like we actually have a whole thing where if someone says the word order in their sentence, it'll actually start a whole chain and then keep asking successive questions based on their answer. And then that all gets funneled into Trello and Jira Software Desk for our special order system.
That is really interesting. I think that's going to be really helpful for everyone to hear about, because we did have a question yesterday in our Facebook idea session talking specifically about canned responses, or how do we, if people are trying to order in the DMs and we're not there, I don't want them to think we're ignoring them, things like that. Okay, so my next question is, and Dave kind of got into this a little bit, which is fine. Have you always used the scheduling platform or the app that you're using now? And if not, when did you decide to try one? And then after that, we have what made you choose this one. I'll ask that after. So I know that'll be interesting to hear from you, Dave, about why you made the switch. But if anyone wants to jump in about, have you always used this tool? And if not, what was the thing that kind of pushed you over? Because I think we have some people who might not be using scheduling tools who might be thinking about doing it.
So, I can go. If we originally started out not using anything, and as I'm sure everybody can attest, that's insane, because it's just crazy trying to do everything. what I like, so we started out with, we tried Hootsuite, using, I think, the free version of Hootsuite. And then I really wanted, I'm pretty sure it was the calendar view that really drove me to look at Loomly. And I think I saw it at, like I said, I think it was a Winter Institute when we talked about apps like the just different social media apps to use. And whoever it was, probably, I want to say Janet at Avid might have been talking about it, and showed the calendar view. And I was like, that's exactly what I want to see. I want to look at the month and know, like, we're covered. I've got stuff happening on every platform. And is it okay if I share? Because I could share that.
Definitely. Let me make you a co-host. So it's gonna, I don't think it's gonna ask you. I think you just are a co-host. So go ahead.
Got it. Let me,
And I think that's important what Dave was saying. You might be looking for something completely different. If you know what you're looking for, you'll know when you see it and when you don't see it. And this was what Dave wanted. So
this was one of the things that I really wanted to be able to do, was to be able to just see the month and know. And I went back in time here to March 2020. I was feeling reminiscent to now that things are starting to open up again. But you can see, like, after the 15th, all of a sudden I was like, lots of posts, because it became so much more important to communicate, to our customers, that we're open, we're doing online gift cards and all these things. And what we could see, like you can tag posts based on the type of thing that it is. So some things about product, some things about a pre-order. And the other one too is, we were participating in, we still do, in the ABA's pre-order campaign process, or whatever you want to call that. And one of the things that I really wanted to make sure we were hitting was a regular cadence of orders, of posts about pre-orders. So this was really easy for me to look at it and go, yep, okay, we're doing every other day this week. Good. We're a little light this week. We only did a couple. And then we hit a couple more this week, So it was a way to sort of, because I'm not always the one that's posting and putting these together. And in fact, I have completely offloaded that to other people at this point. Basically, I kind of just keep an eye on it, but I don't need to be going in here every day and looking at this now. But you can see it tells you what platform we're putting it out on. They have now, as I'm sure Hootsuite has, they have now integrated with Instagram. So it's instant. There's no more, there used to be a manual step that you had to do in between. And I think Leah can confirm that. But so I just wanted to share that. There's multiple views in here. You can look at this in a list type view if you want. And it's a little slow. There we go. So now I can see, like, here's the whole month. You can have multiple people too. So we currently only have one account, but if you wanted to do it in a more robust way, you could have multiple people that could generate content, and then it could all go to, say, one person as a coordinator to approve it, which I think is actually a really neat thing. If you have a bigger store and you're really doing a lot of posting, allow people to create stuff on the fly. And I think we do a bit more of that now than we did before, where, as stuff is happening, a picture is taken, a video is taken, and it's uploaded right away. I think that's a really powerful thing for a store to be able to do. And if you wanted to, say, have a check and balance before it went out, you could do that with Loomly.
we have a real quick question for you, Dave, about Kelly is asking, she says, I rarely post on Google unless we change hours or something. Is that helpful?
Yeah, so I always post everything to the Google My Business page, because they do tons of metrics and things. And I think Google likes it when you post things to Google. So I do it for that reason, because I think ultimately you may end up in better search results because you have stuff and it's active stuff. So I think that's why I do it. Whether there's a direct correlation to actual reality there, I'm not positive.
Yeah.
But.
And excellent. And Jennifer, I see your question about Loomly versus later. I think when we get to the end, once we hear more about it, we can talk about that. Oh, Liz is asking if you have a Loomly referral link, Dave.
I do. Thank you so much for asking, Liz.
If you want to pop it in. Yeah, and we'll be addressing And some of the things that Dave brought up, I'm definitely going to be asking everybody about. If you have a team or other people who are creating content, like he was mentioning, how do you kind of manage that? Do you manage that on that platform, or do you manage it somewhere else? Leah or Angela, do you want to talk about kind of when you started using this app or the scheduling platform, and kind of what made you decide to use it, or if you have amped up using it and what made you decide to do that?
Yeah, I will. So like Dave, and like I assume most people, I did not initially have the scheduling platform. It was the woman who was the manager at the time, but I had just taken over Instagram and I was doing everything live, and it was tough. Even just doing the one account, it was a challenge. So once she left, I took over with Hootsuite. We did have the free one at the time, which meant I could only do 10 posts at a time, which was, fine. I had a pen and paper as well, where I had like a 2-check system. This one's scheduled, this one's ready to be scheduled, that kind of thing. But there came a point where we were posting across 3 accounts twice a day. And I convinced Jen, the owner, to do the paid account so I could schedule as many things as I wanted. And it's been a game changer for me, honestly, like for my mental health. It's been great. Yeah, it's been lovely. If you want, I can show you Hootsuite, although I'm going to be honest, it is not as pretty as Loomly.
Ooh, we might have a convert here. Sure. Let me make you a co-host so you can do a little show and tell for us. I see, Leah, you're Insta famous. I watch you all the time, says Misty. And full disclosure, I work with Leah at Bard's Alley. And I'm missing the word in my head when it's like you bring your family on to do stuff. Like, what's that word?
Nepotism?
Nepotism.
Yeah, thank you, Eileen and Leah. I promise this is not nepotism. I would not have brought Leah on if I didn't think she was not knocking it out of the park. So yes, here we go, Leah.
All right, so this is the dashboard on Hootsuite. It's actually really cool because you can see not only the things that you're posting, but also when people are mentioning you and things like that. But this is not actually the page I use the most on Hootsuite. It is this one. Please hold. So this is where I go to schedule everything. You can only see 1 week at a time, but that works for me. It shows you by the hour, and these are all the different things. I also really like it because if I am making a post, that's not a day I can make a post on. That day already happened. I can, schedule the exact same thing across all 3 and not have to make them individually, which Loomly can probably do too, let's be honest. But that's very helpful for me. I made a video for the staff recently showing them what this is because I am currently the only one putting things into Hootsuite, and I told them this is Hootsuite, she's trying her best. But the other thing with Hootsuite that I've been using more on the nonprofit side of things is that this is your inbox where you can respond to things and see people are messaging you, your DMs and things like that, which is also a big help. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Angela, I'm gonna make you a co-host in case you want to share something. No pressure, but
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share too.
Awesome.
So I can remember how to do it. Shoot, I forgot how to do it. It's been a while.
It's okay. Just down at the bottom, it should say.
Oh, there we go. Now it says share screen. Okay. So I'm going to show just a quick little slide thing that I made. Can you see that? Taming the chaos with a bot?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, we've all deal with having people contacting us through a bunch of different means. And I know a lot of us are like, oh my God, if another customer orders a book through Instagram, I'm going to scream. And I actually, especially when the pandemic hit, I was not going to want to turn away any sale. And, but I was already, even when I opened my store, which was 2.5 years ago, it was already becoming chaotic, even before the pandemic. So this was actually something I had worked on starting before the pandemic, was trying to find an automated way to take some of these orders in. And what I've now settled into is taking web orders and moving them into Trello and Jira Service Desk. And how I do that is with a bot called MiniChat, and that's at minichat.com. And I'll show you a little workflow for that in just a second. But now I'm happy because all my Facebook orders go into MiniChat, into Trello, and then all my website orders go into Trello, and any in-person stuff also just goes into Trello. So everything gets funneled into Trello for my special orders, which also funnels into Jira Service Desk. And I'll go into show my, I just got to figure out how to switch screens.
Yeah, I think if you just open it up on your computer, like act like we're not watching, I think it should be okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So here is here's MiniChat, and I've got it go. What you can do is set up different automations, and so I have a bunch. So if it says something about hours, my little bot, which I made because I'm the haunted bookshop, so I made a little ghost that I call Haint Bot, because haint is a Southern word for ghost. And so I made it real cute so that they don't get annoyed that it's a bot. And so if so it'll say like, hi, I'm HateBot. Were you wanting our hours? Here they are. And so I have a bunch of different automations like that. If they ask how to find us, it'll tell us the directions and things like that. So this is the one where if they order off of Facebook. So what you can see the big flow here, and this is all decision trees. So if they answer it a certain way, it goes in certain directions. So here's what kicks it off. They're called triggers. And so the book order tree got triggered when someone used the word order or clicked a button that said order a book. Another thing I detect is sometimes people, when they say they want a certain book, the bot will first say, hey, have you checked our site yet? And if they say no, then my bot will actually take the book that they said they wanted, and it'll do a search on the website, on my website, and then return the results to them. It can't say, yes, it found it, because it's going to return something. So it says, here's what I found, and they just have to click the link to see if the book is there. So that saved a lot of work too, because then they just find that it's already on my website and they just go ahead and order it. So in the middle of the night, I'll have orders done like that because of Facebook without us having to be there. So what happens if they didn't find the book is it starts through this little messaging tree where again, I try to play cute, where he cracks his ghostly knuckles and asks these questions. So you can see that it waits for a reply and then, asks these different series of questions. And then at the end, it all goes into a form and gets kicked out to Trello. And then now I just added a little extra step where it records the MiniChat ID of the person asking, so that then later down the road, when I've moved a book to arrived in Jira Service Desk and Trello, it'll shoot a message back to MiniChat to that customer on Facebook and said, hey, your book's here. So it will even days later go back and tell them, the next status update. So that's a quick overview of that, because I know I'm not the only one on here. So if anybody wants more, I can get into it more. Yeah,
that is really cool. Thank you for showing us that, Angela.
I forgot to stop sharing.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. And I have seen some people asking questions adjacent to this. So my next question for the three of you is, how easy was this to learn? How long did it take to learn, right? And then I want you to talk about how, everyone's kind of talked about a little bit how it saves time, saves your mental health, but how is it making your life easier? Because I might be at fault for this. I have introduced a lot of things to people these past 2 days and I know everyone's weighing, is it worth the time investment? We will talk about in a little bit the monetary investment, but I just like to hear your experience across learning things. I know personally many of these things, like many social media tools, have tutorials, they have things for you to get into that you can kind of educate yourself on, but just your experience of that time investment for learning and how it paid off.
So I would say the Loomly, after using Hootsuite, I think Loomly was very easy to transition to. Oh, not because Hootsuite's complicated at all, just you're very familiar with the concepts. Everything was, you understood what all of the terms meant in a very easy way. And I think the interface is pretty intuitive. There's a couple of little weird things, like you can manage multiple calendars via Loomly. So I think you have to remember what things are at the account level versus your account level. So we have the page 158 one, and we were just talking about the 501c3. So I could create another one for the 501c3, and the social accounts and all of those connections are going to be independent, and they're going to connect to the appropriate things. So you have to remember, I was just looking for something on my profile, and I'm like, duh, it's not on my profile. It's on page 158's profile. It's on their page. So stupid stuff like that, you just forget and whatever. But as far as connecting everything, really simple. If you want to do workflow, it has the ability to do that. So you can make that as complicated as you want. But yeah.
Excellent. Leah, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I actually found Hootsuite to be fairly intuitive. It's just one of those things where, if you're already posting to social media, you already kind of know what is needed. I was fortunate to come in with the account already set up. I have had to reconnect things, and I know that can be, kind of tough, but I think that's pretty universal. Just because for me, it's always, oh no, what was my password for this one? But I also always joke that there's this much functionality to so many of the tools I'm using, and I'm using this much of that because this is what suits my purposes. And this much that I'm using has been very easy. So no complaints.
Great point.
Yes. And it's worth it if that 1% that you use makes your life 1.1% easier, right? Angela?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. MiniChat had a little bit of a learning curve, just because a lot of the verbiage isn't something we're familiar with. What they say to do for different things, like the flows and things like that. So it took a tiny little hump to okay, what I'm trying to do is set up a flow. I think they've actually, since I've created all these, which was about a year ago, they've gotten better at onboarding people using it. So it might be a little easier. But I say it's definitely worth it because I have customers who just love the HaintBot. I also have a little QR code that I have in the store too that says, "Hi, I'm HaintBot, scan me." And it'll scan them and tell them their Wi-Fi password and just tell them what they can do. Say, hey, you can order from me and do all that kind of stuff. So he's like a little, ambassador. And people find that cute. So that's why I want to make him kind of anthropomorphize him or something, just so it lends a friendly face. But that's also, by no means am I abdicating everything to the HaintBot. I still have a dedicated staff person who checks. I pay him extra to monitor Facebook messaging, even when he's not in the store. And so he'll answer, because he's a I guess Gen Y or millennial, so he's always on. And so we still have that personal connection too. So I do not advocate abdicating all that stuff, but it makes it easier to have that stuff just automated for ordering stuff that is repetitive, so that we're capturing all those, so that it makes it to where there's less friction involved in having that order come through for you, which is money. And so, and makes, your customers more loyal. And, because frankly, one of the reasons they love ordering from Amazon is not only cheaper prices, it's because it's easier to do one click. And so if you do see yourself, I don't necessarily see myself as in competition with Amazon, but if you do, I mean, making it easier to order is part of how, if you want to beat them, that's part of it. So,
and Angela, I think that's entirely fair because I don't think our customers, if we're going to be on social media 24/7 responding to people, then there's a lot of stuff that we can't do in our stores and with real life people in our stores or our families. So I think it's a great idea to make it sort of part of your brand, the little light ghost guy. And if that's making it faster for customers and faster for you, then that is a win-win across the board. A lady asked Angela if there's a recording of your chatbot presentation online somewhere. She said she knows you've done a meetup with either ABA or SIBA.
Yep,
I
and
already
Linda Marie
added
put it in the.
Oh, she already did. Okay,
Yep.
I just want to make sure I got that covered. Oh, perfect. It was right after that question. Thanks, Kit. Kit is on it. I see Dave has been answering some questions about Loomly in the chat, and I want to direct people to Liz was talking about what is a custom channel. So it allows you to push things or be reminded for things like a print magazine or a calendar. And I know Dave mentioned this in the chat too, but I just wanted to talk about, and Angela kind of talked about, you have some that are done through this and some that aren't done through this, but do you exclusively use these tools? Like someone had asked Dave, and you can give the same answer just in real life if you want. Do you post everything through this? Do you do some through this? So maybe Dave and Leah could take this and,
So what we typically do is like sort of lay out the week in advance for the planned stuff, the pre-order posts, the events that are coming up, anything that we want to highlight specifically. And one of the things that I wanted to show everybody, let me really quick just share. It should be that window. You should see that. Do you see Loomly again?
Yes.
So this is the ideas calendar. So it tells you like, hey, the 11th is World Plumbing Day and World Kidney Day. Let's do a post about, whatever, fanny packs. So this type of stuff, would obviously go the planned route. And then my wife and some others in the store have the ability to sort of just on the fly do some posting. And they'll do that based on, sometimes they actually will post it to like an Instagram story or a Facebook story or just directly to Facebook, TikTok. We don't do any of the TikTok stuff. I think what they're doing with the TikTok right now, and I haven't really connected that with Loomly yet. We should probably check that out, but you can do, we do definitely do both though, all, back and forth.
I try to actually have things planned as much as possible because the way I am doing social media now is I send an email to the staff and I say, these are the kinds of posts we need this month. And then they send me the content and I schedule it in, because when we went remote initially, I felt it was really important for people to still feel connected to our booksellers personally, because ultimately for us specifically, that's what has gotten people coming in is, oh, Kathy Ellen, she has the best board book recommendations. She has the best middle grade recommendations, whatever. True story. But people come in for specific booksellers and I wanted them to continue feeling connected, but I couldn't go to people's houses and we weren't in the store. So I just had people start sending me content and it's worked really well. So I've been encouraging staff to continue taking pictures of themselves now that we're in the bookstore and send them to me that way. I do occasionally, like Dave said, post things to stories and, things like that. And I do that live. But overall, because I am not the only one generating the content, it's just easier for me to schedule everything out as much as possible.
Nice. And Angela, if you want to add anything, I didn't mean to unintentionally cut you out of this part of the conversation.
No, that's okay. I'm busily trying to find my referral link.
Okay.
But, I think I think I kind of answered that earlier. I'm not sure. Kind of, yeah.
About having someone to monitor it sort of.
Yeah.
Live. Yeah. So how about the investment? What do these tools cost? if you know.
So yeah, I was trying to find, I think that's under account settings and billing. Okay. So Loonly has all the way from a solo team all the way up to an enterprise, right? And it basically looks at number of users and number of social accounts. So the one we're on is $12 a month, $144 a year. You pay annually and you get 2 months free. So that one it counts with 1 user and 10 social accounts. And then you can look at their pricing, and as you go up into the pro is like $36 a month or $432 a year, you get 5 users, 15 social accounts. I'm cheap, so I kind of stuck with the cheapest possible one I could go with. But they do have some pretty cool stuff on the pro side. It adds analytics. The fact that you can have multiple users, so then you could start passing things, from people to people, and saying, multiple people can create the content and funnel it to me. But we kind of do what Leah does, and we have the one person that sort of plays the point role, and we just send all the content to that person if it's going to go through Loonly. So she just manages, that aspect of it. And we have not had the need to go beyond 10 social accounts either. We've been at like 5 or 6, I think, the entire time we've used it.
Excellent. Leah, do you know about Hootsuite?
Yeah, so like Loonly and presumably like most other things, there are different tiers. The free version, where did it go? I just had it. Anyway, the free version is of course more limited, but we are on the professional plan, and we pay annually because you get a discount. It comes out to, I think, about $350 for the year. And you can have 10 social accounts, unlimited scheduling, 1 user, very similar to what Dave was talking about with his account.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Angela, I think you answered earlier, ManyChat is only $10 a month for Pro. And do you use the other apps that go along with that? I know Trello you can use free. That's pretty good for free, but
yeah. So and ManyChat does have a free option. I think I had to upgrade to Pro, which is only $10 a month, in order to have. I think it was because of this actual use for it, which was to have it connect to Zapier to be able to, because I use Zapier to connect ManyChat to Trello. And yes, you can use Trello for free. Jira Desk is also free. I actually had originally had it connecting to Zendesk, but that cost me money. So I've actually switched to Jira Service Desk, which is free. And so yeah, it's a pretty minimal cost for doing all that. I would say probably your more expensive part is going to be Zapier, but you can, if you're just using it for that, you could probably get away with the free account on Zapier too. Depends on how many zaps you have to make.
Okay, excellent. I'm seeing a lot of discussion in the chat around how do you get your booksellers to give you content. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But I also want to address, Brittany was talking about, she says, it sounds like y'all have medium to large teams working together. If there's stores with just 1 or 2 people, do you think these scheduling apps would still be as helpful? I have to say, I'm like really enticed by Loonly. As my pen and paper person, I'm like, ooh, that looks really cool. And I'm just one person for, things, but I would love to hear if anyone has any insight on that. I know a lot of you seem to be kind of like with a team, but also if it's just one person who is basically using the scheduling platform.
I mean, I think it's worth it. We started out with just a couple of people and, have grown. So it wasn't too long before we decided we wanted something to help manage it, just because it's so overwhelming if you don't. I think anyway. I mean, that was our experience.
Yeah, definitely. It was just me until the pandemic, actually. And even when it was just me, it was, definitely overwhelming and hard to keep up. And what have I posted and what haven't I? And where did that photo go? That kind of thing. So yeah, definitely.
I think we need to talk about Janine's suggestion. Is there a bot that can read and answer my email? Angela, can we work on that?
Because I have that same problem.
We need that badly. That's the thing right there. That's the solution right
It'd be
there.
like-
Think of all the time we would have in our day.
I think it's Cal Newport, who I don't think he's on social media either. He's a person who wrote Essentialism
Mhm.
and Digital Minimalism. I'm pretty sure he's like, yeah, I just don't reply to emails. And I'm like, how? How do you great, Cal? But like, how?
Sounds like a great idea, but
Right.
The dream.
the dream.
Yeah, and to answer the question too, I was just one person until half a year after I opened, and even then, I was still the one handling the special orders and all the all the social media. So it was driving me crazy trying to keep track of all the places that these were coming in, and so I think I think it's more important when you're smaller too. I think there's different reasons why it's better. Like, so when you're smaller, it's to keep your own sanity and know what you're doing with all that. And then you also need it when you get bigger, because then you all need to coordinate. So I think it serves two different purposes. So.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's just a great way to kind of have I love having ideas out of my brain and in a place, and I know they're in the place and I can look there and there's all the things. And that sounds like it works really well for everyone.
So
Before I share, go ahead, Dave.
one quick thing, only because Liz pointed out the pricing on Loomly, and I just logged out to go see what she's seeing, and it looks like they changed their pricing model a little bit, and I might be grandfathered into a when you can have one user, because the lowest end one now is 2 users, 10 social accounts, and it's $25 a month or $300 a year. So they did, you do still get a couple months free by doing it yearly versus monthly, but yeah, because it's $34 a month for. So Loomly did go up, looks like.
Okay,
Sorry.
thanks for updating us on that. So a lot of people have been talking about how do you get staff to send you content. There's some good ideas in the chat. Kelly says we have booksellers post content in a content channel on Slack. Misty said we started asking staff to write posts on their own time and send them to the editor. They're rewarded with in-store credits to use on purchases. Leah, I will take pizza as a reward. Just want to say that. I think I share too much. And I'm wondering if you all are collecting content from other people. I know we don't want another app we have to learn, but do you do that through the scheduling app, or what is a good way that you have found to communicate that? Because that's another piece of it. I'm not sure that scheduling apps are the apps that you all are using to post to social media are the best for that. But if we want to create a system with our team, kind of how do you communicate that if you do?
So we're terrible and we don't.
Okay.
No, we generally email it out a week. The person that's putting it all together says, here's what we're posting for the week. But I know that Kelly Justice has talked to me about Slack before, and we have just flirted with it and not really done anything with it. But Loomly does integrate with Slack.
Okay.
So I think there is some ability to communicate between the applications about what's being posted and inputting new posts. So as a way to funnel if you're already using Slack, I think that's a good option.
And Slack is pretty intuitive. I see Claire, and I totally understand this, Claire. I don't think our staff would love having to learn another app, and I certainly wouldn't. We have an NVNR Slack channel, and I have to say it is very convenient because things get lost in email. Just where was that thing? It's searchable, and you can share links and things there, and you can make it like everything. You can make it as complicated as you want it to be, or just have, like Kelly was saying, a content channel. Here's where you drop stuff that you make. So it is a consideration. I agree, Claire, because you don't want to put new things on people. And I think we're always playing around with how can this help us?
Mm-hmm.
Leah, you have some insights?
Yeah, so we've been using email and it's been hit or miss. I think the 80-20 principle is always going to be in effect. 20% of the people doing 80% of the work. That's just life and business. We are currently, like as we speak, making the transition to using Basecamp, which has been really helpful for our management. And we're going to put all of our booksellers on there as well. And I've already made a project for April social media so that people can go in and claim their posts that way. So I'm hoping that having it be, you know, more visual and having them have the ability to claim their posts and say, I want to do that one will help. We've talked about doing a Google Doc, but we have 3 different Google Drive accounts and that's its own kind of mess. So we didn't want to touch that.
I know that just on the Basecamp, now that you mentioned it, I recall, and I want to say it was Winter Institute, but it could have been SIBA. We did, there was definitely a conversation about those apps, using those apps. And I think maybe Kelly was there actually talking about Slack, but somebody talked about Basecamp, and there was a couple of other ones that are out there. I think there's something for everybody if you know, are willing to, but they, again, it's another thing that costs money and the time investment, and you just got to bite the bullet, I think, and do some of these things, but it's hard.
Angela, I see your raised hand. As a teacher, I appreciate it.
I'll put in a plug for Confluence, and it's free, and it's a program that you can set up basically a whole intranet that it interacts with Trello and with Jira and Slack as well. So if you're already using Slack for your messaging, you can just integrate it right in there. But what I love about Confluence is it pulls all of these in together. So I could have all my to-do lists for my staff right there, plus right there a link to the procedures and, you know, policies and procedures for how to do that particular task, because it's also the employee manual. It's the whole intranet right there, and it's free. So
That's a cool idea. I didn't realize they had a free offering, because in my day job we use Confluence and Jira.
yeah, I'm like huge. I just switched over to it like a couple months ago, and I am like a huge fan now.
That's really
I was
cool.
trying to use Trello as my intranet, and it just never made me really happy for the intranet part of what I always wanted. It was great for project management, but it just was so clunky to try to have it as a visual thing for an intranet. And plus things that I was assigning to my staff would just get lost in Trello. They would never see it and it would not get done. So
Could
I'm
you
really
show
like,
us Confluence, Angela? Is that something you could share with us? Or
Oh,
is
yeah.
I
Okay.
popped the link in the chat.
Yeah, and Dave
And
put the link in the chat.
okay, and I'll pull up my intranet so you can see
Sure.
see that.
And I think it's really good to remember with these apps, there could be some fear of missing out, or you hear all of these. There are so many apps that do similar things. And it does, I put this in the chat, but it's important to remember that it does take time to figure out if one's going to work for you or not. Try that free version, and you might have to experiment, but it'll be worth it, because even if you find something that doesn't work, you know, okay, well, wherever we go next, we need this specific thing, which we will talk a little bit about carousels, because I've heard some people asking about carousels, especially for Instagram in the chat. So, okay.
So here's my intranet. And so I have the staff here, including Mr. Bingley, our cat, which is our store greeter and customer therapist.
I love that.
Angela, I'm
And then-
just seeing your many chat. I'm not,
Oh,
maybe it's on.
Whoops, I'm
but
sharing the wrong screen then. Hold on one second.
That's okay.
What am I, where? Oh, there we go. I have so many windows open. That's makes it easy for me to accidentally share the wrong one. Okay, so do you see it now? It says HBS Home, welcome to Haunted Bookshop.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
so here's the main page of it and has our staff right here. And Mr. Bingley, when you click on him, it brings them to a bunch of photos of him. So whenever anybody's doing a post, they can, there's my link from the other day about setting up a book talk table based on the New York Times article. But that's the landing page. And then you have different spaces. And so floor staff is probably the one that gets used the most. And this is where, you know, they can easily now see, let me move this window out of the way. They can easily see pre-orders, because these pull directly from Trello right into here. So I still like using Trello to set up all my pre-order campaigns. So I don't have to recreate it here. It just pulls it in automatically. Same with special orders, which is what I talked about with using mini chat. Those now, here's all the JIRA special orders right there. But then also you can just have it as your area to have your how-to. So here's how we greet people at the door. Here's some cautionary tales, additional tips. So it acts also as our training area. This is also where I post my restocks for the day. So I just click this little button and it brings up a page that I create that lists what got sold the day before that we still have copies of. So our staff goes through each day and checks off that they've found the second copy and put it face out or spine out or whatever. So it's really working really great. And you can have a blog and a calendar and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, and then it ties into, as I said, into JIRA and that kind of thing. So
Angela, you just have like people that are working are going to a computer station somewhere in the store and bringing this up and looking at
no,
their
they
stuff?
actually just use their phone.
Nice.
So they're just walking around the store with their phone and this checklist and just, finding it, putting there and hitting a check mark and, going around the store. So they are having to use their personal phone to put the app on there. I do have some extra Androids around that I'm going to, and set those up in case some are, don't want to do that anymore. But so far the staff I have are fine with that. So.
Cool.
And Angela, you have a question. Do you use the calendar for your staff's schedule?
No, because it's pretty simple right now. There was a time when I had some seasonal staff and it was getting really confusing for me to schedule everybody. So I probably would, but I'll show you what I do use the calendar for, actually. Besides pulling in our special events, we also pulled in all the national days of something or other. So, and then we also have a page of book related holidays. So now anybody that's working on a store display can just see, some hot links of things like that, where they can go, oh, it's, such and such day, let's do a little store display for that. So now we have all that in one spot, which it had been kind of frustrating before, and Trello just wasn't really working out for us with that. So I'm pretty pleased with this, and it's free. So
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And Angela, how long would you say, you have a lot in there, did it take you, I'm sure it just wasn't, you didn't go from 0 to 100 in a day of having on here, but how long would you say it took to set this up? I can see that there's a lot of return for setting up the training in here and the policies, but it takes time. So I'm sure some other people are probably wondering that too.
Actually, I only created this maybe about a couple weeks ago. So we only started using it as our daily checklist maybe about a week or two ago. And I might be that might be even less than a couple weeks. It was pretty recent ago. Some of the policies and procedures had already been written up, so it's just a matter of me copying and pasting them in there. And then now, as a habit, like the other day, I had to do how I do cost of goods or something. I don't remember what it was. It was a procedure. And so while I was doing it, I was just had this screen up, and the other thing was just typing out what I actually do in case I get run over by a bus. So I don't look at it as, oh my God, I've got to get every single policy and procedure in here. When I'm starting to do something that isn't documented, I just go ahead and start typing it in. And since it's so easy to have it on my phone, sometimes when a geek at night, I'll just sit there and go, oh, let me create a page about this, and I'll just do it on my phone instead of playing some game on my app,
That's excellent, because I think it's very easy to get overwhelmed looking at someone who's created something. And I think it's really easy to think that it can take a really long time. And so it's good to hear that, you can do it in bits and pieces. Serena's wondering, does everyone have their own login, Angela?
Yes. So everybody has their own login, so I can see who's done what and who's checked off what. I get notifications for it all. Yeah, so each one, and I say it's free. It's free up to, I think, 10 users. So if you have a store bigger than 10, it won't be free. But that wasn't a problem for me. Jira does have a limit. I think you can only have up to 4 or 3 or 4, which still was right. I have exactly 4,
Are you
including
using
me.
Jira too?
Yeah. So that's free. That's what I use for my special orders, which I just started about a couple of weeks ago. So that's why my numbers aren't that high here when you see special order numbers. But I got them all copied over from Trello into here, and I love it so much more because now I can sort by alphabetical order or what stage it's in the process, and that kind of thing. Let me go back. That was when I was working on last night before I left. And I have it set up where, it gives automatic responses when it moves from to do to in progress, and that kind of thing. And again, this is free because I only have, it's only 4 of us that work here. So it all works. So I can assign now, one of these, if I need one of my staff to call them to tell them something or other, I could just assign it to Alex and he'll call him and get approval and that kind of thing. So,
Right.
yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing. I wanted to make sure we didn't miss some questions about carousels, and this is probably for Leah and Dave. Scheduling carousels to post on Instagram. I personally love a good carousel, but I know that it can be a little tricky to do in scheduling apps, so I've heard. So
Yeah.
any insight on that?
With Loomly, it's pretty seamless. You're just picking multiple pictures.
Okay, so you can do carousels through
It
Loomly.
automatically puts them in. Yeah.
Okay.
Jealous.
Oh,
We can do multiple photos for Twitter and Facebook, but for Instagram, it's like when I try to do a story through Hootsuite, which I don't. You have to authenticate it when you want it to post.
okay. Excellent. I think we kind of covered this, but I still just want to drive it home to encourage people and maybe take some of the overwhelm off. So what would you say if there were, we have a lot of people here, and I think everyone is excited about potentially, using some scheduling software, probably not excited about potentially learning a new thing, but, gotta do what you gotta do. But what would you say to someone if they're considering using a scheduling software platform, new app, but they just aren't sure? And, they ask you that question, like, I just don't know if I should. Like, how would you encourage them? What would you say?
I would say they all have a free trial, generally speaking. Do the free trial for 15 days and see what you think of it. Because I just think when you get in there and you start seeing, I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Mhm.
Like it's wonderful. It just posts, but you do have to be mindful, right? You can't plan something out and then something happens and you need to always be thinking about like, oh, you have, a post going up about something that's completely now insensitive to something that just happened publicly. So you need to make sure you're aware of what's happening and going to go out. But it definitely, multiple posts. Like, oh, sorry, I was just reading that question about multiple parts, like multiple pictures. Yes, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Carousels. So that's what I would say. Try it. Because I think when you try it, you'll see the benefit of it pretty quickly.
Can you just stop the entire thing if the world is on fire in Loomly? Kelly's asking.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you can go in because of that calendar view. I think you can go in and just. Technically, you could go in and if you needed to stop everything, like in an emergency, you could just go disconnect your apps, click, 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 and disconnect your socials, and then it wouldn't go anywhere because it can't post. But yeah, you have the ability. That's what I like about that, sort of being able to see it all in one place where I can go, yeah, that's probably not a good one. I got to pull that or something.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what Dave said. At Winter Institute, there was a prominent bookseller who said, don't schedule anything. It's a bad idea. That's how you end up being tone deaf. And like Dave said, just because you're scheduling doesn't mean you're checked out. You always have the option to go back in and change things and, stop them if need be. And yeah, I would say it's just do it. It's so good. It's so much better. And also it's good because I think we're all trying to balance fun posts and buy from us posts, right?
Yep.
And I have found that both at the store and at the nonprofit, it's been so great to be able to say, all right, my promotional stuff is all set. Now I can focus on the fun stuff, or vice versa. It's
Yep.
yeah, it's been huge. It's been great
100%.
to do it.
Great. Angela, anything to add? We all want a bot now.
Yeah, I mean, it does take a little time, but I think, it was worth it for me. But I also love geeking out on stuff like that, so it was also fun for me. So if you don't find that fun, it might not be as rewarding, but it was very rewarding for me because I just had a lot of fun doing it, with the added benefit that it then made it more seamless for some of my customers. I have some regulars that just love interacting with the bot and just and they know exactly how to answer, and they just, shoot them those things. And I always have it at the top. I say, if you'd rather not do this, just click on this link and fill out this form, So the only thing it doesn't do is do that with Instagram. They're in beta with Instagram right now. So I'm hoping that I signed up for the beta on that. So I'm hoping that that'll be seamless too. But that's another reason why it's always good to have someone monitoring all of yours anyway. Because I have to still monitor Instagram for orders. So.
And you were talking about, I just want to confirm, you're talking about ManyChat.
Yes, ManyChat. And I'm sure everybody knows that you can monitor your Instagram messages from Facebook, right? Everybody knows that. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody knows that can all feed in together so you're not having to check 2 different places. Okay.
And if you didn't know
Still
that, now
annoying.
you know, that's okay.
They're still annoying.
Yeah,
Now they're just annoying in one place.
accurate.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I think that's a good reminder to what Angela was saying too, that everyone's going to be looking for different things in scheduling platforms. So find something that works for you, use that free trial, just give it a shot. And I think having that data, when Leah and Dave showed the calendar views, that's going to help with your overall sort of content planning too. Like Dave was pointing out, if you just see, oh, we haven't done a pre-order thing in a week or something, or, oh goodness, we're posting a lot about events this week. Oh, it's Indie Bookstore Week. Like, that's fine. You can have all of that data there too. And that's only going to help you moving forward to know how things performed, or looking back previous months and seeing what did we post, what did well, things like that. So I think it will only help. And I know it will take time, but
Worth it.
I mean, things take time. I don't know what to say. Anyone have any other questions? I see a question about TikTok controversy and safety issue. Ooh, I don't think that I talked about that earlier in the top one. I feel safe on TikTok. I looked into it a little bit and I feel okay, but that's all I know right now, unfortunately. Anyone have any last parting words? That kind of was the last parting words that I just let you say, but we have time for some more questions. If anyone has any other questions in the chat, I'm going through, I think we picked up most of the ones that everybody was asking as we went, and thank you people for answering.
Kevion, do you want to talk about scheduling through Canva for a hot second?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So you can, we talked about a little bit in the Canva presentation too, that I like to use it to just put stuff there. I don't push things out through Canva, but because I create everything in Canva, I like to just use that calendar view, kind of like Dave said, and to be able to see I have something every day. Again, I'm not a bookstore. I'm just a person. I'm a person. And so it's a little bit different. But Canva has that option too. I don't think it is as good as some of the other options that are out there right now. Yeah, Liz is saying she looked in Canva and it looked really limited. I think they just like to have lots of different options for their users. So they were like, let's do a Canva one. But it does not look like you can push it out to as many places. It's just kind of a way to schedule things. And I think if you do want to push it out through an app, you wouldn't even use the Canva content planner. I basically use it to just make sure I have something ready to go. And then I take it from Canva and manually post it to my Instagram, I don't post to Facebook. I was going to say Facebook, but let's see. Catherine's asking, did you guys address the percentage of each kind of post you do daily, weekly? Sorry if I missed that. So I think if I'm reading your question correctly, Catherine, that might be, are you talking about sort of a general ratio of, like Leah said, promotion to fun, or like Dave was showing, he looked like he had a couple categories on Loomly, or are you talking about like how many posts per, okay, so you're saying per platform. Okay, do you want to talk about how many you put out on each platform to give us some ideas?
We post to every platform every day. Often, actually, I post the exact same post to every platform every day. I'm going to be honest with you. But when I need to post a link to something, if there's an article we thought was interesting in LitHub or whatever, then I only post that to Facebook and Twitter, and I usually do that in the afternoon. But our daily post goes out at 10 a.m. every day, and it's always an image, and it's working. So that's good.
We do about the same, where it's kind of not always the same content on every platform, but a lot of times it is. Sometimes it's just, it's a picture of something and some words. If there are some times where you might, just post something to Facebook or whatever. But.
And what about general sort of, how much is promo? How much is memes or whatever?
I kind of feel like that's every store's personality.
Yeah.
Whatever fits your style.
And it's definitely something to play around with. I mean, that you have to, from the content planning workshop, there's certain things you have to post about because people are counting on you. They want to know when you have events. They want to know when you have authors. They want to know when new books are coming in, right? And then some of the fun stuff, like Leah was saying, like that could be the stuff that just gets added in that you just happen to see. Oh my goodness, this was great. I need to share it through the bookstore. We're talking about cross-posting a little bit in the comments too. And I think I just want to encourage everyone that if people follow you on all the platforms, right? Because I know a lot of people think, but everyone's going to see it. They might not all see it, right? Because not everyone sees every post on everything. And like worst case scenario in your mind, if everyone sees every post they do, if they're following you on every platform, they love you. Yeah. So they're not going to be upset that they see posts from you. They're just going to probably think, oh, here's this store that I love. Of course they're posting to different platforms because they have a different audience in different places. That's so great. They're doing great.
If I can, really, really quickly, this is like I've been in retail for a really long time. I used to in like the office supply industry. And one of the things that I learned is in all the different retail trainings I've taken, like people see something the third time they see it, that's the magic number in their brain, right? Like when you see a book cover, you may see it and it just goes away. The third time you see it, that image sticks in your head a little bit. And then if you walked into the store and saw it, you'd go, oh, I know that book. Mm-hmm. And you're automatic. It's like this weird psychological thing, but you are already more comfortable with that book because you just saw it the third time, And so I never worry about that. Like people seeing it in multiple places, because I feel like the more times they see it, the better, the more likelihood they're going to be like, oh, I know where I saw that, they're going to hear about it in the New York Times book review or something like that. And they go, oh yeah, page 158 advertised about that book.
And our brains are so full of stuff that things can just come in and out. And Kit was talking about the view 3 times to recognize, view 7 times to recall, because I've heard a lot about the magic of 7. And you could be if you are the 7th place, or you are 4 out of that 7, then they're going to associate that with you. Kelly put a nice point in the comment that publishers want to see their authors posted too. Customers are not the only ones monitoring our accounts. So that's important to remember who our audience is. Yes, for sure.
And as a consumer, I have never been offended by seeing the same post across platforms. Like, it's cool. Do what you got to do.
I'm like, they're smart. I like that they're doing that. Good for them. Like, I get kind of hyped about it a little bit. And it does. Alicia was saying, I feel very validated about cross-posting. It's just me, so I'm less stressed now. Yes, like
No need to reinvent the wheel. You're doing
No,
great.
more bang for your buck. And I am a bookseller, like I said earlier, where Leah works. So I want to talk just a tiny bit about being on the side of getting content requests, right? I talked a little bit about it in my content planning presentation, and I encouraged everyone to enlist, make it just a thing that your employees have to do to share some content, create content, things like that. And I don't mind that. I create stuff when I'm at the store. I love having the list. It's much easier than saying, well, what do I do? And hopefully it makes Leah's life a little easier. I forget sometimes, and I have a cute child, so that makes it really easy too. She does a lot of pictures. Anna's asking, does anyone else use the link in bio for Instagram shop links or links to a website? We talked a little bit yesterday about Linktree, which Leah jumped in on and said, I talked about, you can do one in Canva. Someone was sharing a similar one. You can also create a page on your website that just has links that can be similar to Linktree. But because Angela or Dave, do you have a link in bio?
Yeah, Linktree.
Linktree.
What is a milkshake?
Okay.
Because I love milkshake.
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Milkshake is, correct me if I'm wrong, Brittany, but I think it's like Linktree, just a little more fun. I think it's got a little more places to customize and things like that. And I know Linktree that's why I changed to having just for my personal things to having it on my website, because either last year or the year before, Linktree went down for a little bit. And I didn't know I was following so many influencers on Instagram when that happened. Everyone was freaking out because they're like, where are they going to get my 10% off code? But I'm sure that they are doing much better now because they don't want that to happen again. Brittany said, you can check Milkshake out on their Instagram. Can you pop your Instagram handle in, Brittany, so we can check it out? And it has more personality. Yeah.
I'm going to look into that.
Catherine's asking best place to store all the content everyone at the store is creating. So it sounds like, Trello. I think you all can talk about this. I know Kelly talked about content on Slack. Catherine was saying she likes my draft folder in TikTok. I think that would only work if multiple people could log in, Catherine, to the account and add drafts in. But I think that if one person is going to be posting all of the things, and you can agree or disagree with me here, panelists, that you should have sort of a place where the raw content can go, and then that person takes the raw stuff and puts it. So you might not want everyone to have access to each channel to post in the drafts. But I don't know if Lee or Dave want to talk about where or Angela, where content lives before it goes up from that people are creating.
Yeah, we have, like I think Leah mentioned before, it's basically like send it to me and I'll put it up in,
Okay.
Yeah, we're switching to Basecamp, so I'm making folders for each staff member to put their stuff in, and then it'll live there and I'll take it.
We are very informal, apparently.
Yes.
We've been
Angela,
using.
do you have a cool place where it lives?
Yeah, we've been using Trello for that, and that has not yet switched over to Confluence. But I'm going to try to see if some of that can get moved over. But
Angela, are you getting rid of Trello from your workflow?
no, because I mean, there's some things where it works better. Being able to move things, to like where you're having a track flow. Yep. I think it works great. But if you're just having a place that's static that needs to have content residing, it's not as great. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I still like it for, keeping track of my pre-orders and, that kind of thing, but, okay. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that can be a little overwhelming sometimes is we're talking way at the beginning about, you might only use 1% of one part of an app, but so you might have 10 apps that you use, but if one is doing a really good job on something, then it is worth it to kind of keep that. And not every app is going to be everything. A lot of them try to be, but it just, like we know, you can't be 100% at everything all the time. It just doesn't add up.
Yeah, I asked my staff too. I was like, what's your biggest frustration points with Trello? Because I didn't want to throw away things where it worked and then just make my staff upset just because I wanted to switch over to something else. So I kept what worked that my staff was comfortable with. And then because Confluence pulled in Trello content, they now can just check all of that from one spot, which is what I really liked about that Confluence is owned by the same company as Trello and Jira, and it all works in there together. And Slack gets pulled in natively too. So you can have
That's a great point, to keep your staff in the loop. And,
Yeah.
Because again, like I think Claire said earlier, nobody's probably going to be excited to get that email that says, hey, here's what we're doing. But if you can explain, I think, here's how it's going to make life so much easier for me and for you. and then keep those communication channels open about what is working. Like you said, Angela, what's your biggest frustration? Because we want it to be working more seamlessly, so we have time to do all the things that make us an amazing
and I also that's exactly what I also gave them a heads up like about a week or so before we went live, just so that they could adjust to the fact that they were at some point down the road going to be switching, and had time to think about it and grow used to it, so that it wasn't just me springing this on going, oh hey, today we're now going to be using this.
We got a question about Confluence. Is it simple for users and staff when it comes to project management and tracking things like that?
Only in the sense that if you connect it to Jira is your project management tool, or Trello. Okay. But it's great for tying those in. So visually you can see, you can, on your Confluence page, you can have it automatically list your Jira projects and flows, so that you're still using Confluence to see those and check them off, but it's Jira that's powering it. So that's why I liked having it all tying in together like that. So it's more of like a nice, intranet basically that ties them all together.
Nice. That sounds intriguing. I'm wanting to use like all these things, and I have no team. Maybe I can communicate with my husband through this. He's gonna be like, what? He doesn't do any social media. He's like, just text me what is happening here. But I'll be prepared. So we have about 5 more minutes. Everybody who's on the call, if anyone has any last questions that you'd like to, or any last things you'd like to add for panelists, Angela, go ahead.
I do want to say one thing. If you're talking about projects, as far as like, we were actually going to try to see if we can do that Colbert small business bump thing, where we have to make a video. And that was easier to do on Confluence, where I just made a project page and said, here's my goals, here's what needs to happen. It wasn't, so then they all just started commenting on it. Here's what, and then in like a half a day, we had this great idea for a video. So that was done all in Confluence. So, and it wasn't something that needed to be shepherded through a bunch of, so it depends on when you're talking about project management, whether or not you're talking about like seeing the whole little grid and how it all lays out and, that kind of thing. You can't, it's not as good for that. But if you're just needing to brainstorm and things like that, they've got some great templates in there that help with all that.
Yeah, it sounded like that was a good place for it to jump off and a good place for it to live until you could get the idea, and then maybe it graduates to something else.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I think this is giving a lot of people, I hope, some good ideas. I hope not too much anxiety. And, we know busy times are coming, indie bookstore days coming up and things like that. So we'll be adding the links. Kit has been collecting all of these links to, we're going to add to the resource page that I have. And I originally started that just for the stuff I was sharing. So we'll get another copy of that going up on SIBA and NABA too. So all the links can live there as well. I know we have a hard stop here, so I want to make sure I respect that. So I want to say a big thank you to Angela, Leah, and Dave. That was really great. Loved chatting with you. Thank you for being here with us today. And we will see everybody at lunch. And then this afternoon, we have Twitter breakout sessions. We've got Twitter 101, Twitter 2.0, and a Twitter idea sort of session. So we'll see you at lunch, and then we'll see you back then.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.